The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewports of the exploration vessel Endurance. Captain Reyna Ortiz stood at the command deck, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the faint glow of distant suns. The hum of the ship was steady, calm, until the alarm chime broke the silence. "Captain," said Ensign Leon from the communications console. "We're picking up a signal. Old frequency, very weak. It's repeating every 30 seconds. Rena turned quickly. "Source?" "Triangulating now. It's coming from the Vega sector near Venus 7. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew the name. Venus 7 was one of the oldest failed colonies, a place that had been abandoned after the terraforming project collapsed centuries ago. Storms, hostile bioengineered creatures, and an unstable atmosphere had made it unlivable. No one had been there in generations. "Put it on speakers," Rena ordered. The sound was broken, but the words were clear enough. "Help. Danger. Repeat, danger." "Not safe." Static swallowed the rest. Science Officer Patel frowned. "That signal could be hundreds of years old, Captain. It might just be a ghost transmission bouncing around the sector." Rena shook her head. "It's repeating on a tight cycle. Someone set this to run forever. If there's even a chance there are survivors." Her first officer, Commander Jules, gave her a sharp look. "Captain, Venus 7 is officially classified as a death world. If there are survivors, they are likely hostile or not exactly human anymore." "That's why we're here," Rena replied. "Exploration, discovery, and if there are people in danger, we answer." The crew exchanged glances, but no one argued. Orders were given and Endurance changed course toward Venus 7. 3 days later, the planet filled the main screen. Its yellow clouds swirled like a living storm flashing with distant lightning. Scans showed a surface barely visible under the thick cloud layer, but there were heat signatures, lots of them. "Those aren't random," Patel said, pointing to the display. "They're clustered in patterns. Could be settlements." Rena felt her heart quicken. "Prepare the shuttle. We're going down." The descent into Venus 7's atmosphere was rough. The shuttle shook as if giant hands were trying to tear it apart. Storms raged around them, clouds so thick they blocked nearly all light. "Visibility near zero," Jules reported. "Sensors are struggling. Atmospheric pressure is extreme but survivable with suits. We'll need to land soon." Through the haze, strange shapes moved. Flying creatures with long wings and glowing eyes circled them, screeching through the storm. "Captain, they're closing fast," Leon shouted. The shuttle rocked as one of the creatures slammed against the hull. Claws scraped across the viewport, leaving deep marks. "Evasive maneuvers," Rena ordered. The pilot banked hard, but more creatures joined the attack. They were fast, too fast. "We have to land or they'll tear us apart." The pilot yelled. Rena made the call. "Find the nearest open zone. Put us down now." The shuttle dropped lower, engines roaring. They slammed into a clearing, the landing gear sinking into the soft, steaming ground. The pilot killed the engines. Outside, the storm howled like an angry animal. "Everyone grab weapons," Rena said, pulling on her helmet. "We hold position until we figure out what's happening." The crew formed a defensive circle outside the shuttle, their suit lights cutting through the darkness. The flying creatures circled just beyond the light, shrieking. Then, without warning, they scattered. "Why are they leaving?" Patel asked. A new sound filled the storm. Heavy footsteps. Shapes moved through the mist, tall and human-like, but moving with an unnatural grace. "They're people," Jules whispered. The figures stepped into the light. They were indeed human, but taller, stronger. Their eyes glowing faintly from some adaptation to the dark. They wore armor made from strange materials. Chitin, metal, even pieces of old colony tech. The leader stepped forward. His voice was deep, steady, and carried even through the storm. "You should not be here," he said. Rena lowered her weapon slightly, but kept her stance firm. "We received a distress signal. Are you the ones who sent it?" The tall man shook his head slowly. "That signal was a warning. It was meant to keep others away." Rena felt a chill. "From what?" The man looked past them toward the storm. His expression was grim. "From what still lives here. The sky beasts you saw are only scouts. There are worse things coming." The ground trembled beneath their feet as if something massive was moving closer. The man turned sharply. "Follow us if you want to live." Without another word, the tall figures melted back into the storm. Rena made the call instantly. "Move, stay together." The crew ran after the strangers, leaving the shuttle behind. Lightning lit the sky behind them, and in that flash, Rena saw it. A monstrous shape rising from the clouds, larger than a shuttle, its many eyes glowing. Whatever danger the distress signal had warned about, it was already awake. The storm grew darker as Captain Reyna Ortiz and her crew followed the tall strangers through the steaming jungle. Their suit lights caught flashes of strange plants, glowing vines, trees with metal-like bark, flowers that snapped shut as they passed. Everything here felt alive, watching. The leader of the strangers moved fast, never slowing down. Rena's crew had to push themselves to keep up, their boots sinking into the wet ground. Behind them, the sound of something massive echoed. The creature they had seen in the lightning flash was still hunting. Finally, the group reached a hidden path that led into a narrow canyon. The strangers stopped, turning to face the crew. "You are safe here," the leader said. For the first time, Rena saw him clearly. His face was weathered but strong, his eyes bright with a faint glow. His armor was made from a mix of scavenged ship metal and strange organic plates. "My name is Kale," he said. "You have entered our territory. That makes you our guests." Rena removed her helmet slowly. The air was heavy but breathable. "I'm Captain Reyna Ortiz of the Endurance. We came because we thought someone needed help." Kyle's expression was unreadable. "You did not find helpless people. You found us, the children of this world." Kyle led them deeper into the canyon. What they found there shocked them. Hidden under the clouds, built into the canyon walls, was a whole settlement. Structures made of stone, metal, and even living vines rose from the ground. Fires burned in metal pits, casting warm light over groups of people. There were hundreds of them. Men, women, children, all with the same tall, strong build as Kale. They wore simple but sturdy clothing and carried weapons made from advanced materials and scavenged parts. They survived here all this time. Patel whispered in awe. Kale turned to face them. "We did more than survive. We became something new." He gestured to the settlement. When the terraforming project failed, the storms came. The creatures woke. Most of the first colonists died. The rest learned to fight. They changed their bodies, using what technology they had left. They learned to adapt to the poison in the air, the heat, the predators. Over generations, we became stronger. "You became Deathworlders," Jules said softly. Kale nodded. "Yes, this is a death world, and we are its people." They were taken to a large hall built into the canyon wall. Inside, torches burned in holders made from twisted metal. Dozens of Venusians gathered there, watching the newcomers with cautious curiosity. An older woman with silver hair stepped forward. Kale bowed his head slightly. "This is Elder Mira. She speaks for our council." Mira's voice was calm but firm. "Outsiders are rare here. You must explain why you came." Rena repeated her story. The signal, the decision to investigate, the attack in the storm. Mira listened, then said, "That signal was sent long ago to warn off travelers. It is no call for rescue. This world is dangerous, not just for strangers, but for all of us." "What was that thing we saw in the clouds?" Rena asked. Mira's face grew dark. "One of the swarm." The room grew quiet at the word. Kale spoke. "The swarm were not always our enemy. They were part of the terraforming project. Biomechanical hunters meant to keep the balance. But something changed. They began to breed too fast, to grow beyond control. They kill without reason now. They hunt us and they will not stop." Patel frowned. "Can't you just leave this planet?" "We could call for a ship." "No," Kyle interrupted sharply. "This is our world. We will not abandon it, but the swarm grows stronger every season. Soon they will overrun us, and if they escape this planet, they could spread to other systems." Rena felt the weight of his words. This wasn't just about survival. It was about preventing something much worse. "You didn't want help," Rena said slowly. "You wanted to keep everyone else away, to keep the danger contained." Kyle nodded. "Yes, but now you are here. That means the swarm may already be close to finding you. They are drawn to new technology. Your ship may be their next target." Jules cursed under his breath. "We can't just sit here and wait to be hunted." Kale's eyes met Rena's. "Then fight with us. Help us destroy the swarm before they destroy us all." That night, the crew of the Endurance sat together in one of the canyon shelters. The air was heavy with the smell of smoke and wet stone. "This isn't our mission," Patel said quietly. "Our orders were to explore, to observe. We're not soldiers." "Maybe not," Jules replied. "But if what Kale says is true, leaving now could mean bringing those monsters back to the galaxy. We can't risk that." Rena sat in silence for a long moment. She thought of the people she had seen in the settlement, children laughing despite the storm outside, men and women sharpening weapons, preparing for another day of survival. They had been fighting this battle for generations. She looked at her crew. We can't just run. Not when we have a chance to make a difference. Jules nodded. Then we stay? Rena stood. We stay. And we fight. The next morning, Kale led them to the edge of the canyon, where the jungle stretched out like a sea of green and gold under the storm clouds. If you fight with us, he said, you must learn how we fight. He handed Rena a spear, lightweight, perfectly balanced. Its blade made of some strange alloy. Your weapons are strong, Kale said, but they are loud. The swarm hunt sound. Our way is faster, quieter. We strike and vanish. Rena took the spear, feeling its weight. Then teach us. Kyle gave a rare smile. You learn quickly, Captain. Good, you will need to. For the next few days, the crew trained with the Venusians. They learned to move silently through the jungle, to read the patterns of the storm, to spot the glowing tracks of swarm scouts before they struck. Rena's muscles ached, but she felt herself growing sharper, faster. These people had been forged by the world they lived in, and slowly the Endurance crew was becoming like them. But on the fourth day, as the sun's light barely pierced the clouds, the jungle grew silent. No birds, no wind, no movement. Kale stiffened. They are coming. The jungle was too quiet. Even the storm seemed to hold its breath. Captain Rena Ortiz gripped her spear and scanned the trees. Kale stood beside her, his glowing eyes focused on the distant mist. When the jungle goes silent, he said, the swarm is near. The rest of the Endurance crew was ready. Their rifles were charged, but they had also been given the Venusians' quiet spears and blades. The settlement was hidden deep in the canyon behind them. If they failed to stop the swarm here, there would be nothing left to protect. A low vibration rolled through the ground, followed by a strange clicking sound. Shapes appeared in the mist. Dozens, then hundreds. The swarm had arrived. The first wave came fast. Their bodies a mix of metal and flesh, with claws that dug into the ground and glowing red eyes that cut through the fog. Hold, Kale shouted. Wait for my signal. Rena's heart pounded. The swarm moved like a single mind, spreading out to encircle them. Now, Kale roared. Spears flew, striking with deadly accuracy. The first creatures fell, but more came, leaping over their fallen. The Endurance crew opened fire, bright flashes lighting up the storm as bolts cut through the front line. The air filled with the hiss of claws, the crackle of energy fire, and the shouts of warriors. Rena fought side by side with Kale, striking with the spear when the creatures got close. She had never fought like this before, but her training of the past few days guided her movements. Leon used her rifle like a sniper, taking down the swarm leaders that directed the others. Patel and Jules worked together to keep the line from breaking. Still, the enemy pressed closer. They're too many, Patel shouted over the noise. Then we hold longer, Kyle answered. Suddenly, a huge shadow moved through the mist. One of the massive swarm beasts, the same kind Rena had seen on the night they landed. It towered over the trees, its glowing eyes fixed on them. That's the Alpha, Kale said grimly. If we kill it, the rest will scatter. Rena knew this was their chance. She tapped her communicator. Endurance, we need orbital support. Lock onto my beacon. Up in orbit, the Endurance's crew responded at once. The ship's reactor roared as they charged its main weapon. We'll only get one shot, Captain, came the pilot's voice. Make it count. Understood, Rena said. She turned to Kale. We need to draw it into the open. Can you do that? Kale smiled grimly. Watch me. Kyle sprinted forward, moving with impossible speed. The Alpha roared and charged after him, crushing trees in its path. Rena and her crew ran after him, firing at the smaller swarm to keep them distracted. The canyon walls opened into a wide clearing. Lightning flashed above, lighting the scene in a harsh white glow. This is it, Rena said into her comm. Target my position. Fire when ready. The Endurance fired. A blinding beam of light cut through the clouds, striking the ground just as the Alpha lunged forward. The explosion shook the earth, throwing everyone to the ground. When the light faded, the Alpha lay motionless, its body smoking. The surviving swarm let out a strange, high-pitched cry, then scattered into the jungle, retreating into the storm. Silence returned, broken only by the sound of heavy breathing. Kale got to his feet, his face serious but proud. You fought well, Captain. Your crew is strong. Rena stood, her suit scorched and her arms aching. We couldn't have done it without you. Jules walked up, wiping sweat from his brow. Is it over? For now, Kale said. The swarm will return one day, but you have given us a chance to rebuild, to prepare. The next morning, the canyon settlement gathered to honor the fallen. Fires burned as names were spoken. The Venusians sang a low, deep song that echoed through the stone walls. When it ended, Elder Mira stepped forward. Outsiders came here and they chose to fight with us. Today you are not outsiders. You are Storm siblings. She placed a carved token in Rena's hand, a symbol of their alliance. You are always welcome here, Mira said. Before leaving, Rena stood with Kale at the canyon's edge, looking out at the stormy sky. You could still come with us, she offered. Leave this world. Start fresh somewhere safer. Kale shook his head. We are the children of this world. It made us what we are. We will not run. Rena nodded with respect. Then we'll send word to Earth. They need to know what you've built here, and what still threatens this system. Kyle smiled faintly. Tell them the Deathworlders of Venus are still here, and we will be ready. As the Endurance rose back into the clouds, Rena stood on the bridge looking down at the swirling planet below. They called for help, Jules said quietly. Rena nodded, and instead we found warriors. The message they sent back to Earth was short, but it carried all the weight of what had happened. We answered the call. The Deathworlders of Venus stand with us. The crew stood in silence as the stars came back into view. Knowing they had not just survived, they had made allies who might one day help humanity face even greater dangers.